My name is Jay Leno, and let it hereby be known that I'm taking over all the shows in late night.
All right.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 television show hosts who ruined their legacies with scandals and poor performances.
If you're watching because you love me, thank you. If you're watching because you don't love me, welcome.
James Corden.
Last week, there were stories about me being banned from a restaurant.
We're not entirely sure if James Corden lost respect or if he just never had any in the first place. Corden has hosted a number of award shows, but he is perhaps best known for The Late Late Show, which he presented between 2015 and 2023. Despite his continued success and prevalence, Corden's public reputation has plummeted. Allegations of rude behavior have followed him for years, including an incident in 2022, which saw him being banned from a New York restaurant.
Look, when you make a mistake, you've got to take responsibility, so I thought I would, if it's okay, I would share with you what happened.
Others perceive him as being annoyingly arrogant, and he's been accused of stealing jokes from other comedians, including Ricky Gervais. And some just don't enjoy his style of showmanship, believing that it is inauthentic and overly rehearsed.
When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Oh, you couldn't be more wrong, sir.
Dr. Phil.
Over the course of 21 years in a high-profile position, you have been involved in a few controversies.
Despite running one of the most successful talk shows in TV history, Dr. Phil has long attracted criticism for, well, lots of things. He's known for harboring a blunt and confrontational approach to guests, which some interpret as dismissive. He's also not a licensed psychologist as of 2006, which many see as a huge stain on his professional reputation.
Some folks said that you exploited her mental condition. Do you regret what you did there?
But perhaps worst of all, Dr. Phil and his production team have faced major ethical concerns and have been accused of exploitative behavior. For example, interviewing the unwell Shelley Duvall for ratings or providing alcohol to struggling guests in order to boost drama. Basically, he could care less about treating people. It's all for the TV.
Friday on an all-new Dr. Phil. The Shining's Shelley Duvall, from red carpet to near recluse.
I loved Robin Williams. I don't think he's dead.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting.
Do you see him?
Yes.
Jeremy Kyle.
It has a reputation for confrontation and controversy where participants face off to air their most personal problems.
This English broadcaster hosted the Jeremy Kyle Show between 2005 and 2019, attracting widespread criticism along the way. The program was accused of turning personal struggles into public spectacle, often exploiting vulnerable people and turning them into national laughingstocks. Kyle himself was also infamous for his aggressive interview style, often being extremely confrontational with guests, and sometimes even outright humiliating them.
I would question the amount of help and support that actually comes out of appearing on a show like the Jeremy Kyle Show, in terms of the fact that I wonder what it's like for them going back into their everyday lives and having aired their difficulties in public in such a way and on such a program.
But the final straw for everyone, including the network, came in 2019 when a guest took his own life shortly after appearing on the show. A coroner later exonerated the producers, but the backlash was still enormous, and the show was swiftly canceled. And with that, what little respect Kyle had evaporated.
While he feels that appearing on the show may have exacerbated his feelings towards his relationship with his partner deteriorating, he doesn't feel that it was a direct cause of Steve Diamond taking his own life.
Brian Williams.
And what the New York Times and the Washington Post reported last night was that, as you said, there's a number of examples of embellishments that haven't been made publicly known, but have been found by NBC. And my sources are telling me the same thing, that at least 10 instances of exaggerations have been found.
Unlike the others so far on this list, Brian Williams was a respectable journalist, having worked for NBC since 1993 and winning a number of awards. But that goodwill was ripped away in 2015 when it was found that Williams had greatly exaggerated his experiences in Iraq. For years, he recounted a story where his military helicopter was hit by an RPG and forced to make an emergency landing. However, military personnel later came forward and clarified that Williams was in a different helicopter that was never under direct fire.
Sorry, I don't remember you being on my aircraft. I do remember you walking up about an hour after we had landed to ask me what had happened. Other crew members confirmed this discrepancy to the military magazine Stars and Stripes.
As a leading anchor for a major news network, Williams was expected to maintain high journalistic integrity, and this incident eroded public trust. He was subsequently fired from NBC Nightly News and demoted to MSNBC.
His account does seem to differ from what crew members in the lead chopper told Stars and Stripes, that Williams was, quote, nowhere near that aircraft or two other Chinooks flying in the formation that took fire.
Jay Leno.
He released a statement today that said, I won't participate in the destruction of The Tonight Show.
Oh, man.
Fortunately, though, I will. I'll burn it down if I have to.
Despite his long career in show business, Jay Leno is now just the guy who screwed over Conan. Leno left The Tonight Show in 2009 and was replaced by Conan O'Brien. In return, he got his own primetime talk show. However, it struggled in the ratings, so NBC decided to reshuffle their lineup, moving Leno to the late-night slot and pushing Conan past midnight.
You know what, kid? Why'd you want to do that?
Conan rejected this plan and chose to leave the network rather than capitulate.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, are they closing a curtain or something there? No? I didn't think so. Okay, we didn't rehearse today because we didn't care.
He got a hefty severance package. Leno was reinstated to The Tonight Show, and his reputation tanked. Many people defend Leno, arguing that this was more NBC's fault than his, but he still lost a ton of public favor and was widely regarded as a backstabber.
All of his friends got together and had a party. They had a cake, and Jay, this is an interesting point, Jay cut the cake with the same knife he stuck in Conan's back.
Paula Deen.
Paula, what about the very serious allegation? The very serious allegation of you using the N-word.
Hot butter and oil, Sam? Which N-word is she talking about? There's a whole bunch of N-words.
Well, the bad one.
Like nutrition.
No.
Having hosted a number of popular TV shows, Paula Deen is one of the most prominent chefs in America. Or she was. The downfall began in 2013, when Deen was sued by a former employee for racial and sexual discrimination. During the resulting deposition, Deen acknowledged having used the N-word in the past. It wasn't just the use of the word that spurred controversy, but her nonchalant attitude, answering of course when asked if she had ever used it.
In newly released transcripts from her deposition last month, Deen is asked, quote, have you ever used the N-word yourself? Yes, of course, she said.
She lost her television show and several endorsement deals in the fallout. And to make matters worse, her apologies were deemed insincere and made into jokes. Deen has sought to rebuild her brand throughout the years, but she has never regained the mainstream success she once had.
More fallout after her admission that she used racial slurs in the past. A series of awkward apologies has not stopped sponsors from dropping her. The latest Walmart and Caesars casinos.
Piers Morgan.
Even by the standards of a show in which confrontation is nothing new, this between two of its presenters this morning was extraordinary.
Things started off so well for Piers Morgan. Rupert Murdoch personally appointed him editor of News of the World when he was just 29, making him the youngest editor of a British newspaper in over 50 years. It was all downhill from there. Morgan quickly became known for his strong and divisive opinions, and his tenure at the Daily Mirror ended in scandal in 2004, resulting in his termination.
If you hire a Rottweiler for its ability to bite, you can't then be shocked when it actually bites.
He was also fired from Good Morning Britain in 2021 after rudely dismissing Meghan Markle's mental health, showing a repeated lack of journalistic integrity. And speaking of that, Morgan has been accused of being implicit in the News International phone hacking scandal, which saw the newspaper illegally accessing private voicemails to find stories.
Have you ever hacked a phone?
No.
Did phone hacking ever take place during your editorship of The Mirror?
Not that I'm aware of.
Ellen DeGeneres.
This TV producer is speaking out on camera for the first time about what it was like working for Ellen DeGeneres.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar.
It's amazing how fast Ellen's reputation dropped. One day, she was an icon, having paved the way for LGBT acceptance in mainstream TV and hosting one of the most popular talk shows of its day. The next, she was a social pariah. In mid-2020, several employees accused DeGeneres of harboring a toxic workplace, with instances of racism, sexual misconduct, and intimidation.
Ellen would look at Ed and she would laugh, because I was hoping she was going to say, Ed, you can't be yelling at crew this way. You can't be yelling at people this way. She laughed and she said, every production needs their dog.
Employees alleged that speaking up about the unfair treatment led to retaliation or termination, and some even reported being fired after taking medical leave. And many criticized Ellen herself, claiming that she was unbelievably rude and condescending behind the scenes. Her ratings plummeted, the talk show was canceled, and Ellen eventually left Hollywood for England.
I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
Matt Lauer.
And we are grappling with a dilemma that so many people have faced these past few weeks. How do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelation that they have behaved badly? And I don't know the answer to that.
There was a time when Matt Lauer was the name in reporting. He began hosting Today in 1994 and remained there for over 20 years. However, his tenure came to an end in 2017 after getting hit with Me Too allegations. Like many, Lauer was accused of sexual misconduct when a colleague came forward claiming that Lauer engaged in inappropriate behavior towards her.
In 2017, as the Me Too movement was gaining momentum, Brooke Nevels finally told Meredith Vieira what happened to her during the Olympics. Meredith, she says, was distraught and advised her to go to Human Resources here at NBC Studios. Within 24 hours, Matt Lauer was fired.
NBC conducted an internal investigation and found that Lauer's alleged misconduct was not an isolated incident, and he was fired on November 29, 2017. His career in journalism was effectively brought to an end, as no major networks or organizations sought to rehire him. He also faced personal repercussions, with his wife of 21 years filing for divorce.
The woman whose accusations helped end his career is going public, and we should warn you, details of her account may be too graphic for some viewers.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Jimmy Savile.
Last year, Jimmy Savile's coffin was driven past Leeds General Hospital, where he'd worked as a volunteer porter. Hospital staff joined the crowds, saying their goodbyes and applauding him. How things have changed.
To say that Jimmy Savile lost respect is a massive understatement. He once had a ton, hosting both Top of the Pops and Jim'll Fix It, while also doing extensive charity work with British hospitals. But therein lay a very dark secret. Following his death, it was discovered that Savile was a serial sex offender, abusing hundreds of people throughout the last half-century.
Savile raised millions for Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Buckinghamshire, but here too stories are emerging of nurses telling children to pretend to be asleep to avoid his attentions.
These events occurred in said hospitals, schools, and the BBC studios, among other places. The scandals severely damaged the reputations not just of Savile, but the BBC and the National Health Service, both of which allegedly ignored or dismissed the claims of abused individuals. It also led to legal reforms, and most of Savile's honours were stripped.
The BBC is a trusted, and I would say worldwide brand. Particularly people in this country trust whatever the BBC tells them. Now, with what's happened with Sir Jimmy Savile, it means that trust is being completely undermined.
Did you lose respect for these hosts? Let us know in the comments below.
I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show.